Welcome to my home garage. Today we got a 2014 BMW 328i xDrive with the N20 2-liter turbo motor. It's got a valve cover gasket leak and a bunch of other issues, but right now we're going to start with the valve cover gasket. And the first step is to disconnect the battery. So let's get at it. Removing that cover gives you access to the battery. Now we are only going to disconnect the negative terminal. 10mm wrench or socket. Just loosen it up a couple of turns. And now you're going to lift up on the, wiggle it and lift up on the terminal. Okay, battery is now disconnected. Just tuck it in out of the way. And now we are safe to work on the vehicle. Step 1, we're going to remove the air box. And you pry this up. What we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the connector here and take out the hose, and this whole assembly should come up. Step 2 is we are going to remove the cowl cover that comes across. There are some locking nuts, and once we remove these covers, it'll expose some other bolts for us to remove. So let's get at it. And pull up. And there we go. Let's get this out of the way. Okay. We can just lift them. Okay. And then we can release these. Now we can separate it. And now we get a flathead screwdriver and we loosen the clamp on the intake pipe. There we go. The air box. Set this aside. Now we have more room here. So we know we're going to be removing some of these things here, so we might as well do it now. So what we have is these quick clips. So what you want to do is you can get behind it like that and just disconnect it. We do not want to break anything. Same thing here. Go behind it and just gently, if it's not budging, just play with it a little bit. Okay, so this is loose now. Okay. What else do we have here? We need to disconnect the Vanos solenoids, which is towards the wire, the tab. These are the presses on the wire side. And then you just push down to release the connector. And there's one. And there you go. Connector 2. So now our 2 Vanos actuators are disconnected. So what we're going to do is we're going to start forward and move back. Okay. So everything here is disconnected. We will get to this next. These connectors and wires. Next thing we want to do is get rid of these leaves. And now we are going to loosen up all the tabs up here to expose those nuts. I believe they are 10mm. Just want to turn them a few turns. Okay. Now we can lift. One side. There's a little rubber tab here. That's why this loops here. Pull up. Okay. So now we need to remove this bar piece here, and you have some inverted Torx. So we're going to do that now. So we got to remove the bar. Is the bar in the way? Yeah, I got to remove the bar. I also remove this rubber. Here, you can see better. A wire runs through here. So it's a ground wire. Pull it out. And we can remove your seal. Seal's out of the way. Now what we have here is, if you do not have an inverted Torx, to remove the nuts behind here, a 14 will do. Okay. It's just behind the seal. Okay. One. 2. Come on. Oh, there's 2 tabs under here. There's 2 covers. Holy smoke. 1, 2. Bar should now come out. This is a support bar, like a strut bar of the vehicle. The next step is we remove these covers right here. They're 10 mils. Should be able to use our impact to get them out. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There's actually 1 extra one here. So there's 4 in total. Sorry, 7 in total. There's also a clip right here. Here you see, there's a ground wire bolt. You just loosen the bolt. Very simple, millimeter bolt, nut. Remove the ground, remember its position. Slide this over here, and now it's out of your way. Easy. Here's your nut, put it back on so you don't lose it. You can do that with all your bolts, you can just put them back where they belong. That way you won't forget where they go. Next step is we're going to remove the vacuum connections. And step 1 is depress the brake pedal to remove any vacuum pressure in the booster. So we'll do that now. Just get in the vehicle, press the brake pedal a bunch of times. Vacuum's gone. So now the booster is under no vacuum, and we can safely remove this without any pressure. Yeah, there's one. As you can see, this is just held on by a little tab right here, a little rubber, and you're gonna do the same thing over here. You're gonna depress the tabs and slowly remove here's your vacuum wire. You can leave this up here, out of the way, so you remember you gotta put it on. Okay, now we can tackle the vacuum pump, which is directly behind. Okay, before we tackle the vacuum pump, we're gonna start removing everything in order. Now we're gonna put it on our table and keep everything organized. So we're gonna start with our coils. Just simply pry up on the coil, disconnect the connector by pulling it out, and just use the hole here to lift your coil out. So there's number 1. Gently pry it up. 2, 3. You can see some rust, water, oil, debris has gotten into there. 4. What I'm going to do right now is I get some paper towel, put it in your cylinders so you don't get any debris going in there. So just grab paper towel. So the next step is we're going to remove the ground and the connectors for the injectors. So the connectors for the injectors, you're going to get a pick, like so. And when you look at the injector, you're going to get yourself a nice light. Okay. Or like that. And the actual injector has a little tab that faces where the 2 wire sides are. You just pull back on that like this, and the connector will depress. 2, 3. Same thing. Now you're going to loosen the grounds. 8 millimeters. The ground bolt. You're going to loosen it, and you're going to put in your hand, take the actual ground off, and you're going to put this foot nut right back on the ground so you don't forget where it goes. So there's 1. There's 2. Take the rubber off of it on the high pressure fuel pump connector, depress it, remove it. Okay? Remove all the little clips where things connect. It becomes very easy to see all the little connectors you have to remove. First thing we're going to do is, just to get some of these things out of the way first, is we're going to remove the fuel lines that connect to the high pressure line. So there is a cover here that uses Torx as well. An E6 inverted Torx. Knock those off. So I actually got myself a super shallow ratchet, and it's great for vacuum pumps on Audis and BMWs because the bolts are like way back here. You can't even see them. So the cover, the harness just clips onto the back of the cover. You see, when this is from behind, all the harnesses just and connectors clip on here. So just remember, when you connect this, everything just slides back on in its place. It just clips onto the actual valve cover like this. So that's all you're doing, moving that out of the way. Now you have this harness out of the way, so you're good there. And now this harness is tucked under the high pressure pump. We can just remove both lines from here. So what we'll do is we'll remove both lines from the actual high pressure pump. And right now we're gonna get some fuel leaking. So what you can do is get some rags, because you will have a leak. And you just tuck them in behind here. It's a 17 millimeter to loosen the high pressure pump fittings. So we're just gonna go slow, because it is under pressure. And it's just gonna leak a little bit of fuel out. And that's okay. And then there's a low pressure side and a high pressure side. So the high pressure side feeds the rail. The low pressure side of the high pressure pump is the supply from the tank. Okay, so now we're both loose here. So now what we can do is we can loosen off at the injectors. But first thing I'm going to do is actually take the Valvetronic connector off. So first you want to just remove this here. You want to, there you go. All right. Same thing, depress the connector and pull up. And here you go, Valvetronic unit is disconnected. Just shove it back here, out of the way. You want to disconnect the fuel rail connector while we're here, you might as well do that. So same thing, idea. You want to depress the connector on the wire side and then pull back. And it'll depress. So there you go. Okay, so now we can remove. So now we have a little bit of fuel. You might want to air out the area you're working in. So I'll just open up my garage doors. So now you're going to disconnect at each injector, okay? 15 millimeter. There's 1, 2, 3. If you have a crow's foot like this, you can put that on the injector rail connector, like so. Put your extension on there. And you will do the same exact thing. Loosen it. And that's it. So you can also use a crow's foot, and that is how you would torque these if you were going to torque them specifically. So now we're just going to loosen up everything here. Okay. Next step is removing the rail. So it's an E8 inverted Torx. Okay. Four bolts. And now these are just caps. So this should have the ability to loosen up. Remove this one. There you go. You don't even need to remove this one. There you go. There's all your fuel, your rail, all complete. Very easy. We're gonna just put it up somewhere out of the way. If it has any fuel in it, you may want to drain it. Just drain the fuel. Okay, so now that all that's out of the way, we can work on this. We can work on this high pressure pump. It is a T30. You are always removing it slowly. So it could be under pressure from the cam lobe it rides on. So you're just gonna loosen each side at a time slowly. Okay, until you feel no tension. Okay. Here's your high pressure pump. Same thing, put it in an area where it can just drain and it won't be damaged. So as you can see, it looks like it's possible that the high pressure pump had an oil leak. So what we're going to do is we're going to just clean this up a bit. It's a good thing we're replacing that gasket. Okay. Next step is we remove this harness. This harness has two clips. One here which I just broke, which is fine. And one on the back side, and it's just very light pressure to remove. Alright. Here are all the connectors. Same thing here, you're gonna get a piece of paper. Now if you guys can take a look, you'll see all the oil pooled up in there. See that? So that's where our valve cover leak is coming from, and probably on the back side. We'll take a look once we get more in there. So now we must remove the vacuum pump. The vacuum pump has 3 bolts on it. If you guys want to take a look, that's what the vacuum pump looks like. We got to remove the 3 bolts on the back, 1, 2, and 3. It's blind, so I can't really show you. There's your vacuum pump. So the bolts are behind, so you need a very shallow ratchet to get in there. Okay, now that the vacuum pump is removed, don't play with it. So its orientation is like this, coming from the back of the motor. You wiggle it out and put it back in the same place, because this has to align with the cam, and you don't have much room for play because of the dowels. So just make sure that your orientation is pretty close so that you can slide it on there and push it in. Okay, so now you can put this away. So now the back of your engine may leak a little bit of oil. I don't think there was a leak from back there to begin with. Okay, now your valve cover is ready to come out. What I recommend is to blow everything out first and clean everything up before you do that. So we do have all that oil in that gallery, so we kind of just want to soak it up as best as we can. Then we'll grab a gun and we'll just blow out the area, just to make sure there's no debris falling in our engine. We have our important areas covered with paper. Now we'll get a little blower. We can now remove, this is like a recirculation pipe for the PCV system, and you just want to pull these 2 tabs out and push down. Okay. And there you go. Okay, so next step is we're going to remove the vanos. Just keep your bolts with it and put 1 on each side of the car so you remember. Now we can remove the Valvetronic unit, same as the vanos. It's an E6, and these bolts are pretty much loose, which they shouldn't be. Bolts out. Now to remove the unit, gently pry it up. I guess this is just a seal that goes on there. So now we are ready to do the sequence to remove the valve cover, which is a very complicated sequence. I will show you the sequence now. Take a look at the sequence. That is the sequence to remove the valve cover so you don't damage anything. We will be removing a little bit at a time and following the sequence. There's our valve cover. So now we got 2. Now we're going to remove the gaskets. See how brittle they are? Look, one already broke. So, broke again. So this is our high pressure fuel pump gasket. It's very brittle. Okay. I'm gonna flip it around. Now we can see some evidence of possible coolant contamination in the oil. Take a look at that. There we go. So the next gasket is our main gasket, which is the outside gasket. Okay. Let's see how brittle it is. Just kind of slide your tool. There we go. Oh, it's very hard. It should be very supple. Okay. There we are. Okay, there we go. There's our old gasket. And now we have our internal gaskets, where the spark plugs and fuel injectors lie. So there's also a seal there. Okay. All right, now we're going to clean it with some brake clean. All right. This seal goes on after. This seal goes on now. So with this seal, you just want to put your pick in there. And just pull it out. When you install the new one, I have some special grease. You just want to lubricate the seal. Not only does it help it go on, it's going to help seal as well. You just want to go over like that. So you can do like this. There we go. Like that. There we go. There's your seal. Perfect. Okay, we're now ready to go back on. So let me double check we cleaned everything properly. Some paper, a little bit of cleaner. And we just want to go around and tidy up all the mating surfaces. All right. Now we can take the valve cover. It's dry. What you want to do is you want to just check all your seals. Make sure they're in. Just run your finger along it. Just make sure everything's good. Okay. All right. Good. Alright. Okay, that's what you want to do. Now you want to kind of just push all your screws in. Start them up by hand. All the bolts should start easily by hand. And that's what you should do. Alright, so just gonna get them all started by hand. the screws from 20 to 1. Oh, okay. So we start at number 20 in reverse order when we're tightening. So the same diagram earlier from the loosening sequence, you are now going to do that in reverse order. So you're going to go and it's 20 inch-pounds or 9 newton-meters. Your valve cover is now torqued. You got our Valvetronic seal. So this Valvetronic seal, the letters face up. This part faces down. Okay. The torque on that Valvetronic is 48 inch-pounds or 5.5 newton-meters. The next seal we're going to put on is the high-pressure fuel line seal. If you take a look at it, we're going to have to wipe everything down on that area. I want it to be perfectly clean. I believe it goes like that, with the plunger side facing up. I'm just going to reinsert it up here again. Okay, that's not good. So we're good here. Now we're going to take our Valvetronic units. Actually, something I'm going to do is just lubricate the seal a bit. Just lubricate it up a bit. Let her in. Connectors face down. Okay. Grab your bolts. Okay. Okay, the seal. Before I attach the manos on this side. Wish I didn't put this on here, but it's not a big deal. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, tight. The next step is you want to run all the wiring the way it was before you put the high pressure fuel pump back on and anything else. So you're going to take the run. And you're going to see it only fits on one way over the housing over here, and it should clip in if the clips aren't broken, just like so. And then down here, okay, plug in your actuators for your vanos after you connect your other vanos, which I haven't done yet. Okay, spark plugs are done. Next thing is we'll connect the injectors. It's easy because they're the furthest one this way is for that one. Listen to for the click. Listen for the click. Okay, the coils in just to get them out of the way. take out the paper you had inside the high pressure pump. Now, I was told by many people to use high temperature thread sealant on the high pressure pump fittings. Bolts, sorry. So, use thread sealant on those bolts. First thing we're going to do is tidy this area up. And also, we're just going to make sure nothing else is going to be in the way. So our line goes like that. So now we got our high pressure pump. We get some high temp thread sealant. Gotta cut that. So this is some high temp thread sealant. It looks clear to me. So we'll put some on the bolt. Okay. Oh no. Okay, so now we're going to put our fuel line, our high pressure pump on. And we're going to thread it down. Make sure it goes on nice and straight. Alright. Each side a little bit at a time. We're going to bring it in evenly. Okay. 12 newton meters. 106 inch-pounds. 106 inch-pounds for the high pressure pump. So tighten a little bit at a time each side until it clips. You don't want to do all of it at the same time. A little bit at a time until you feel resistance. Okay. One, two, done. Once you have the vacuum pump on and tightened, and remember, you're going to tighten it with the same kind of wrench you loosened it, so it's not very much torque. Okay, now you can slide this wiring back behind here, and remember that it actually clips into this little bracket you have here. So this little bracket is what do we have left? So now you gotta see what you got. look over everything. So we have this. It just clips in right here. Okay. This is completed. Vacuum's on. All our connectors are connected. High pressure pumps tighten. All the lines are connected. Injectors are clean. The valleys are cleaned out. Spark plugs are changed. Okay. All our connectors here are good. We have nothing loose here. Nothing that hasn't been connected. Everything's connected. Okay, now we have the front of the motor. So here we are. So what I would do, we're just going to reconnect our battery terminal. Okay. Should bring the car back to life. Tighten it up. Okay. Okay guys, so the engine's now running. Now is when you check for leaks from your fuel system, any place that's leaking oil, check your vacuum pump. Pretty much anywhere you touch, check it out, make sure it's okay. I don't see anything wrong. Okay, so I think our repair is successful. Take all the debris out of here, because when are you going to be in here again? Piece to reattach is this clip right here, and you are done. Your valve cover gasket and all the gaskets go with it, along with spark plugs. Not too bad of a job. Just lots of little things that you have to take into consideration when you're doing the job.